Alright, this will be the review sheet number 24 quick video. Hopefully it helps you out and can kind of help guide you a little bit if you get stuck. Okay, first thing here is, number one, this is just an evaluating an algebraic expression. Okay, so this is just chapter 7, learning target number 3. So any questions you may have, just go ahead and take a look at your most current notes. Okay, the one thing that I am going to be very picky on is work. Okay, and if you're watching this, you're going to understand what I want you to do first. I'm going to show you. The first step, whenever you evaluate or you're finding the value, the first step is you always have to turn that algebraic expression into a numeric expression. So that's going to be 3 squared plus 3 times 8 divided by c, which is 2, minus 2 times 5. Just like that. That is the first step. Now we're going to write PEMDAS. And from there you have to follow the order of operations. You can see that there are going to be a lot of steps to do here. Probably this space right here is not big enough. So I would advise you all to use the back. I think the back is blank on this, if I remember right. It is actually. Use the back of this. But I will be checking for counting lines. And there's going to be several lines here. I'm going to say maybe 7 or 8 lines that you're going to have when evaluating this. Okay? Alright. But I better see this step. If you don't have this step, it's wrong. Number 2. Okay, what is the mean? Okay, now mean, we haven't really learned this yet. Well, we've learned it through review sheets, but we have not learned it in a chapter. It's going to be the last chapter we do this year. Okay, the mean is when you take all those temperatures, you're going to find the sum, which is the answer to an addition problem, so you're going to add them all up, and then you're going to divide the sum by however many there are. So the sum is going to be divided by the amount of temperatures there were. Okay, so it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that means it's going to be the sum divided by 7. The mode is the most occurring number. Okay, the number that occurs the most often. Yes, you can have more than one mode. The median, you will need work for this one. Remember, that's the middle number. Okay, so I'm definitely going to need to see work there. Look back to past review sheets, and you'll figure out what work I'll need to see. But anytime you're trying to find the middle, you're going to have to do something with all these numbers first. And then finally, the range. Look back to past review sheets, because it's been on there about every week. We've had a review sheet. Okay. Prime composite neither. This is going to be chapter 1. So if you have any questions, go back all the way back to your chapter 1 notes. Okay, also in the materials section, there's a chapter 1 folder. You can look in there. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what these are. I'm going to make you guys go figure out what prime composite neither. If you don't remember what they are, you're going to have to go back to those notes and figure it out. But it's not hard. It's just been a while. And then you're going to have to explain to me why 1 is not a prime number. Okay, here you can see there's a proportion here. This is chapter 4. 4 and 5, really, both kind of. Okay, so either one of those is going to tell you how to do it, but I don't foresee you guys having any issues on that at all. I think you guys are going to think that's pretty easy because you've been doing them for so long now, proportions. Okay? Now, here's the deal on this one. A lot of people are going to miss this box this week. This is actually chapter 5, and I want to say learning target number 9, maybe, something like that. But we did this right before our winter break, and the one thing you have to do, if you don't do this, it's going to be wrong. I want to make sure everybody heard me. It will be wrong if you do not do this. You must have a proportion on every single one of these. That's how I've always taught you how to do it. That's how I want you to do it. Okay? So, I'll kind of do the first one for you just to kind of show you. Now, I'll do the work over here to the left so you can see it. Okay? The football team drank 20 gallons of water during one game. How many quarts is this? So when you do your proportion for a conversion, and these are just converting, quarts to gallons or ounces to cups, whatever, you're going to put your labels on there. So we're going to be doing gallons to quarts. Now it doesn't matter whether gallons is on top, quarts on top. That doesn't matter at all in this. Okay, your fake ratio has always been the first one. Everything we've done with ratios, we've always called that the fake ratio. Okay, that is going to be the conversion ratio. Okay, which means there's this many of this and 1 of this. So for this one, I know there are, in 1 gallon, there are 4 quarts. Now, You just got to go to your real information. What did they give you? Did they give you an amount of gallons, or did they give you an amount of quarts? They gave you an amount of gallons. They gave you 20. So we know that we are going to be multiplying our number of gallons by 20. So what are we doing to our number of quarts? Hopefully you're all saying by 20. And we're going to get 80 quarts of water. That's how much they drank. 20 gallons is the exact same thing as 80 quarts. Okay? So you're going to have to do a proportion for all of these, all four of these, or three, the remaining three. I will give you the conversions on here, though. Otherwise, you can find them on Google or in your Chapter 5 notes. But I'll just give them to you. So for this one here, I will tell you that there are 8 ounces in 1 cup. Okay? For this one, I guess there's 4 more here. There are 36 inches in 1 yard. Okay? There are 16 ounces in 1 pound. Okay? And finally, this one's an easy one, but there are 12 inches in 1 foot. Okay? I just gave you the fake ratio for every proportion you need to have. And if you don't have those proportions, guys, I'm going to count them wrong. If you don't have them, they're wrong. I don't really care whether you got the answer or not. Again, it's all to protect you, because I know what mistakes students make. You have to trust me that I know. So I want, there has to be 5 proportions on that question. Okay, next one. Write your answers in simplest form. Okay, well, here's adding and subtracting and multiplying and dividing. Okay, now I think we would all agree that for the first time in math, since you've been learning math, adding and subtracting is probably, when you're adding and subtracting fractions, that's actually more difficult than multiplying and dividing fractions. Okay, the big thing here is, remember, when you're adding and subtracting, you must have a common denominator. Okay, and then remember, whatever you do to the bottom, you must do to the top of that fraction as well. So you got to have common denominators there. Down here, it's actually very easy. By the way, this was actually 5th grade right here, so we really didn't do adding and subtracting besides on review sheets. Down here, this would be Chapter 3. So any questions about this, look back to your Chapter 3 notes. You'll see exactly how I want it done. So I'm not going to give you any more information because I think it's, I just want to test you to see what you know. But multiplying is pretty much the easiest one we do, and then division is a special type of multiplication. So when I say the statement division is just, you guys should be able to finish that sentence. Okay, let's go on. Okay, now this is actually Chapter 8 stuff here. Now this is a little bit tricky, so I'll spend a little bit of time making sure everybody's clear on this. Okay, this inequality symbol right there means greater than. So it's saying that this over here, whatever this equals, is greater than 50. Okay? This one here is saying less than or equal to. This one is just saying less than. So basically, here's what you have to do on this one. You have to find 3 numbers that will make this true. So you have to plug in some number so that you would make 3x minus 7 greater than 50. So for instance, let's say I plugged in 0. 3 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 7 would be negative 7. Okay, now, I know you don't know that, but it is. 0 minus 7 would be negative 7. Is negative 7 going to be greater than 50? No. So 0 would not make this inequality true. Okay? Let's plug in 10. Plug in 10 there. Of course, we got to multiply before we subtract. 3 times 10 is 30. 30 minus 7 would be 23. Is 23 greater than 50? Is that true? No, it is not. That is false. So we couldn't use 10. So your job is going to be to figure out numbers. What numbers could you choose here that would give you something over here to the left that would be greater than 50? Okay? Over here on the right, you have to find, or I'm sorry, the second one here, you're going to have to figure out values for P that would make this less than or equal to. Okay, now this symbol you'll learn next chapter. It just, if I said this, well, let's do this. If I said 5 is less than 5, is that true? No, that's not true, because 5 is not less than 5. But if I said, is 5 less than or equal to 5, then yes, that would be true, because it is 5 5 is less than or equal to. That's what that little line means. It means or equal to. So basically, it can be equal to 20 as well. So you're, again, going to have to pick numbers that are going to help you. So, for instance, 1. We'll plug in 1. So, of course, we're going to multiply first. 6 times 1 is 6. 20 plus 6, or I'm sorry, 14 plus 6 would be 20. Now, is 20 less than or equal to 20? Yes, it is. So I know that one number that would make this inequality true would be 1. Your job is to figure out the other ones now. Okay, think closely about it. But it's all about this expression over here. We need it to be less than or equal to 20. Up here, we need this expression to be greater than 50. Okay, now down here, we need this expression right here to be less than 25. Okay, so you're just going to have to work through that. Okay, kind of guess and check strategy. Okay, next one, this is chapter 3. Again, just like I've said the last couple weeks here, something needs to happen to that divisor. And then since something's happening to that, you also need to have something happen to that. You would obviously need to show me work here. Okay, if your work doesn't match my work, then it's wrong. Because you can't just do it wrong and then type it in your calculator and then get an answer and then go from there. Okay, multiplication, also chapter 3. I would have had you just take out these decimals and then put them back in later, but that's up to you. Okay, use the GCF here. So this is what we're doing in learning target number 6 right now, chapter 7. Okay, so you're going to have to find the GCF between these, and then you just ask yourself, what would I, if I were distributing it, how would I get back to that? So check out learning target 6 in your notes. That I don't think there's going to be any issues there. Okay, and this one, the sum, you got to know what a sum is of 3 and n. Okay, you just got to select all that apply. This is learning target number 1 of chapter 7. Okay, let's go to the next page. Okay, here's one of these. We've had one of these in the last couple review sheets. The big thing that I always try to stress to you guys is please use a picture. I think the picture will indeed help you. It seems to, when we talk about it, you guys seem to understand. When you're finding area, you guys all know that the area formula is base times height. It's this times this. Well, the big deal here is we're not given the base and the height and being asked for the area. We are being given the area. We're saying, okay, the area is 45/8, and the width, or the base, whatever you want to call it, is 7/2. We need to figure out what this is. Well, we've got to remember this. Part times part equals whole. Well, if we're trying to figure out one of the parts, then we know it's going to be that. Okay? And then, of course, I would need to see the work. So, chapter 3 there. Okay, long division. That is a comma right there. And there's no decimal there. That's just 81. So that's just 34,992 divided by 81. I would obviously need to see work there. Okay. Here, definitely need to see a proportion on these two. If you don't show a proportion, it is wrong. Okay. Right here would be your fake ratio. Anyone wants to know that? That you should all know that is a unit rate. So the amount of miles per 1 gallon. Okay. So then you're going to have to do your proportion here. Miles and gallons, miles per gallon. And then down here, you'll have to then do another proportion using this fake information up here. Okay? But obviously need proportions on both. That would be learning chapter 5. Chapter 5. If you need any help there, that'll be in your notes. Okay? Okay, this is the same type of question. Exactly the same deal here. Again, you would need a proportion on both of these. I'm not going to give you much help because they're chapter 5, and I think we've done enough with proportions this year that you guys should find those fairly easy, I feel like. Just got to do your proportions. Got to have labels on your proportions also. If you don't, it's wrong. Okay? Need to see a proportion here. Okay? Right there is your fake information, your fake ratio. And then it's giving you a real information. Wants to know how many, well, actually, no, that's not, I'm sorry. You're going to have to do a couple different, 2 proportions on this one. Okay, this is the amount of feet in 1 mile. We need to figure out inches in 2 miles. So there's a couple different ways you can do it, But you're going to have to figure out how many inches in 1 mile. So you're going to have to convert this to inches. Then you're going to have to figure out, that's why I said 2 proportions. So it's going to be, your first proportion is going to be figuring out how many inches are in 1 mile. Your second proportion is going to be figuring out the amount of inches in 2 miles. Okay, so you must have 2 proportions there. Okay, and we did one of these, I think, on review sheet number 20, I want to say 21 or 22. I think it was 20. Okay, but you just got to tell me what temperature that is. Just understand that when they go below 0, they're negatives. And you got to look at the interval, what it's going up and down by on that one. Okay? All right, hopefully this helped you guys.